All right, well, let me begin looking at the executive branch. And if you could hit one of you guys in the back there at the left light switch, please. Start this off with a few quotes. No man will ever bring out of the presidency the reputation which carries him into it. To myself personally, it brings nothing but increasing drudgery and daily loss of friends. Thomas Jefferson. Sounds like a real glowing review of the job, doesn't it? As to the presidency, the two happiest days of my life were those of my entrance upon the office and my surrender of it. It's like an old joke that some teachers like to give, to say, everybody who comes into this classroom creates joy. Someone entering, someone leaving. Mr. Mark Van Buren obviously had the same opinion of the presidency. All the president is a glorified public relations man. He spends his time flattering, kissing, and kicking people to get them to do what they're supposed to do anyway. These aren't very glowing remarks, are they? These aren't very glowing remarks at all.
My dreams of being president have just been.
I'm sorry. Happy Monday. When we look at the presidency, let's get through the nuts and bolts of it, the legal requirements. First and foremost, one must be 35 years of age. Have lived in the United States for at least 14, and the citizenship requirement. Must be a natural-born citizen of the United States. Now that's different than all the other federal offices that we studied to this point. You don't have to be a natural-born citizen to be a senator or a representative. But you must be a natural-born citizen. How does one become or fulfill being a natural-born citizen? Born in the United States. Is that it? Can a person be born anywhere else and still be a natural-born citizen?
Of the United States, but you're still a citizen.
Yeah. On page 356 in your textbook, it says, be a natural-born citizen. Under the doctrine of Justice Sanguinis, it is apparently possible for a person born abroad as an American citizen to become president. Some dispute that view, and the real meaning of this requirement cannot be known to someone born a citizen but born abroad. Does in fact become president. And it gives you some cliff notes there. Martin Van Buren was the first president actually born in the United States. His 7 predecessors and his immediate successor were each born in the colonies before the Revolution. Now, you also need to remember that your textbooks were published in 2004, before we had the discussion about President Barack Obama and the question, the birther movement, if you will, from 2008, that in some circles still takes place. Natural-born citizen. That was the first time, and he's released his birth certificate and has, I guess, to most people, proven that he was born in the United States. However, there are those who still hold out. Should it stay that way? Why?
Because you're talking about like the citizenship for how long
Yes.
and being born in America.
Yes.
Because I mean it's like somebody from America going over and trying to be president of like Germany. like which one of these don't belong. Like you have to be a part of something for so long.
What if what if that individual had moved to Germany at like age 5, and everything that they've known, everything that they had, actual world experiences, had been in Germany?
Like an American.
Yeah. Yeah. They spoke fluent German. They were totally immersed in the German culture. Knew everything that had been going on in Germany for the last 30 years. Was invested, totally committed to that nation. Just the fact that they were born in Connecticut and moved to Germany at age 5. Yes.
Well, it's kind of like the same with Arnold Schwarzenegger, isn't it? Since he
It
was
is.
governor.
No. The governor, this may shock some of you, he was not born in America. Okay? That's not a New Jersey accent that he has. That's straight out of Austria. Okay? Immigrated to the United States as a young man, I think his early 20s, if not late teens. He ascended to be the highest elected office in the state of California. Millions and millions of people. Does that qualify him to be president of the United States?
No,
Why not?
because he would have a lot of mates.
Well, we're not going to weigh in on personal decisions. We're not going to critique and evaluate that, because if we did that, who amongst us could really survive the scrutiny of that spotlight? Yes, ma'am.
Would it have to do with trust, too? Like trust issues? If you're not from this country and you're trying to be the president, like, you might think that they have some,
Ulterior motive.
But we have homegrown terrorists here too. So.
True. We do. And really, what's more American than Arnold Schwarzenegger? He was one of the first civilians to own a Humvee. A Hummer when they rolled off in civilian. I mean, he's the Terminator. I mean, what is more American than the Terminator?
baseball.
Hey, pitchers and catchers, yes. Very happy for that. And you know what today was, don't you? At the beginning of formal discussions in Chicago that their season is already over. Do we have any Cubs fans here?
I thought they quit existing.
Completely useless by September, that's what Cubs stand for. So somebody who has ascended to the highest elected position in the state of California with I don't know how many millions of people, what does it say back there, Donna, on the population for California?
33,871,600.
We'll just say just under 34 million people. There are countries with fewer people than that. They have a operating budget that the governor is responsible for setting and everything. They have a budget larger than probably, I don't know, Canada, Mexico. I mean, that doesn't qualify him for being president of the United States. Interesting. What makes a president great? Right here, what makes a great president?
Well educated.
Well educated, all right?
Someone who knows what's going on in America.
Informed, and he's got his fingers on the pulse, and e pluribus unum. What else? So he's got to be aware and well educated. That's it.
Clear background. Like not been in any major crimes.
Define major crimes.
Well, I'd say like misdemeanor kind of stuff, like parking tickets or like speeding, that kind of stuff.
Those are okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know where you were going with that. I was like, nothing like parking tickets. Like, man, you got a hell of a measuring stick there. Oh, okay, so minor things. Where do you draw the line? You know,
Not ever robbed the bank or anything like that.
what about issues with substance abuse, alcoholism? No?
I think that if it was, like, if it was early enough, and then, say it's like either not help about it,
Okay,
or if they had not been involved with it
okay,
for several years.
okay, Ms. Watson, you said be a good example.
Were you talking about Ulysses S. Grant? That's when he president, when he.
There was some issues and some discussion. I don't know that we can necessarily 100% pin Grant down as being an alcoholic. I think he had some problems with it. And he had an individual who many historians credit him as being his conscience. Mr. Rawlings was his chief of staff all through the Civil War and then was part of his staff to gain the presidency. Mr. Hefner, you had anything?
I was gonna say, if they're the president and that, like, they go in and they have dark color hair and they leave with the gray, why would not let them have a little bit of alcohol?
You know, if it's going to age you prematurely, I guess you should have a drink. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Yes.
And what about Washington? He made his own moonshine.
Well, now, see, each and every one of them, we could go down the list and we could probably find a character flaw that would be fatal enough that people shouldn't let them in. If they really knew what this individual was like. Actually, when I mentioned alcoholism, I believe there was some discussion about George W. Bush having issues with alcohol. We are well known that Bill Clinton tried to inhale. I just couldn't do it. Okay, so this is a gentleman who went on MTV and said, "I've tried marijuana," and we're still elected in president. You know, when we look at JFK, severe chronic back problems from his war wounds, his injuries as captain of PT 109, probably kept him on painkillers. FDR, with his, I don't know if it's necessarily a character flaw. Yeah, polio. And if the world really knew, if the American public really knew the image that he presented. So, I mean, well educated. But let's dig a little bit deeper, you know. What type of person, what makes a great president? Educated, clear background, or at least a fairly clear background. One that can be simply talked away. What else? Look at the person. Look at the individual. What type of person do you want?
Someone who's going to get us back into the black.
Okay. What about their personality?
They can't get great. That's be well liked.
Yeah. Yeah. They have to have an outgoing personality. They've got to be able to communicate.
I don't know, I think some of them can still be correct because being president means that you have to be like tactful, not communicate. They can be a complete jerk, but I mean,
Right.
You know
no
how
way
to
to talk to people.
spin a story.
Spin it. I know, or at least know when the cameras are rolling. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. I can live with that. We have these often idealistic versions of what they should do and versus what they really do. Okay? We have this idea. What do we look for? Well, we want somebody with sound judgment in a crisis. When you know what hits a fan, do you want them running around going, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Oh, I can't take this. I got to go down to the basement and watch a movie. No, now's not the time. I can't handle this. I'm going to go play Xbox. No.
Workout's pretty here.
We want high ethical standards. We want high ethical standards. We want to know that this is somebody that is a good role model. Okay? In a video that we're going to watch Jimmy Carter said, talked about Harry S. Truman. He said, you know, that there was once a statement that Harry S. Truman never cheated on a 3-cent stamp. That he held himself to a high standard of morals and ethics, and he conducted himself in that fashion. Compassion for the average citizen. I think that's what you were getting at. Maybe not the most eloquent way, Ms. Conrad, but compassion for the average citizen, be able to connect. And really, the people who have ascended, and I say ascended, that's probably not the best choice of word, have been elected to the office of presidency. Do they really have anything in common with the average citizen?
No. Well, they graduated high school and college.
They were born,
Yep.
you know?
Most of us aren't
Usually
lawyers.
come from rich families,
I mean,
have huge trust
yeah.
funds.
Now, as we look at, yes, a lot of these people are self-made. They have become celebrities, or they have become famous and powerful through their own work, okay? And we want to make that connection with the average citizen, or they want to make the connection with the average citizen. Look at Abraham Lincoln, born in a simple log cabin, okay? Fast forward to 1992, and you have Bill Clinton and his background and his childhood, being born and being raised pretty much by a single mother, stepfather. Dad was never in his life. Worked real hard to get an education, made something of himself. They want to be able to connect, but don't we want them to be able to connect with us as well? Saying what one believes, even if unpopular. Well, that's kind of a razor's edge for them sometimes. Forcefulness and decisiveness. Notice the things that really make a good leader seem to go on the bottom end of what we're really looking for. We just want, hey, are they a good guy? Are they going to be nice? And are they going to be, have compassion for me? Knowing how to get the job done, just a little about what is that, 35%. 35% of us say, what do we want our president to do? And look how low a willingness to compromise ranks on that. Well, throughout this entire course this year, you recognize, wow, why don't they compromise? Obviously, you don't want it, right? Well, let's take the Grammys were here, the red carpet. The Oscars are coming up. We'll have the best and the worst dressed. Let's look at the best and the worst. Do we disagree with this list?
There's one that probably could be on there.
Who you got?
Clinton.
Clinton?
He got us back into the black act.
And that's an interesting thing, because there are people who would say today, in 2013, that if Bill Clinton could run for president again, they'd vote for him. And go back to that list of what we look for in a president. They're willing to overlook it. They're willing to overlook the character issues. They're all willing to overlook. Why? Because he's good at what he does. Oh, Bubba, he is good. His personality, he's a charming guy, isn't he? Yeah. Those top three usually rank out in some. Those are the top three. They'll jockey for first, second, third, and kind of shift around. And then you have the worst. You never want to be the guy. How have I said this before? You never want to be the captain of the Titanic. When things go to crap, and when things go down, and when things just fall apart, you never want to be the guy in charge. For example, James Buchanan. He was president in 1860. The guy, the 4 years before Abraham Lincoln. Didn't do anything, arguably didn't do anything to stall or alleviate the coming secession and the coming crisis. Andrew Johnson, the guy after the greatest president. How do you follow up that act anyway? Franklin Pierce, the one before Buchanan, didn't do anything to stall it. William Henry Harrison, I think that's unfortunate. I think that's unfair. I don't think you can really evaluate somebody that was there maybe a month and a half.
Where'd you get your list?
It's from 2009. We
You
can,
saw the PowerPoint?
when I put the PowerPoint together for the first time. But when you look at that list, they'll move around. They'll shift around. We'll take a look at them here again.
Where'd you get the list? Like, what was it?
Trying to remember. This is from 2010. This is from 2010. Zachary Taylor, followed by Oatai, Herbert Hoover, poor communicator, exasperated the Depression. Richard Nixon, he doesn't even make the top anymore. What does that mean? The guy, the one person who resigned because of the Watergate scandal. See, and I don't think that's fair. How can you judge a guy? He got sick and he died. Really? Ulysses S. Grant.
Oh,
Good
yeah, that one.
general, bad president.
Well, notice he's the second one that's a good general, bad president. Zachary Taylor, same thing. Well, look at all the scandal that surrounded the Grant administration. John Tyler, stalwart defender of slavery. And then he flips the script on his entire party once he gets there. Allowed slavery to spread.
He just looks suspicious.
Who, Pierce?
No.
Or Fillmore? Oh, yeah. Andrew Johnson, the first president to be impeached. Warren Harding. Played poker with his friends while his friends plundered the U.S. Treasury. Refused to challenge. So, I mean, generally speaking, most places. And you can find there we go. Here's a ranking of all presidents. George Washington, as you can see, usually hits top 3. Who is number 1? Oh, this is an aggregate. This is 2011. Who is ranked number 1?
No, down.
FDR. FDR, Lincoln. But notice even Teddy Roosevelt can rank as high as 2nd. Yeah, Truman's usually up there. So, I mean, depending on what year. Yeah. How many hundreds of thousands of people did he kill? And Truman still makes top 10. So,
Well, yeah, because he helped end the World War II.
now, notice, I'd be interested in looking back on this, and I don't want to take up too much time on this. I'd be interested to see where George W. Bush is sorting out. Because when he left office in 2009, yeah, he's going to make top 10. Worst president. But I think that is changing. I think that's being revised. Great presidents are generally blessed with a great crisis. And they resolve it in an innovative and creative way. Think about the great presidents. Think about the good ones. George Washington. Yeah, he had a heck of a crisis. He was the first one. He had nothing to go on. Abraham Lincoln. Civil War, it's a heck of a crisis. FDR, Great Depression. Not only did he have the Great Depression, but then on December 7th, 1941, he had Pearl Harbor. And look at the boost in points, approval rating, up 12 points. Bush took an almost 30% jump after 9/11. Invade Korea, you get 9 points. When Bush the first invades Kuwait, he jumps up 20 points. So we see, I mean, even look at Nixon. Vietnam Peace Agreement goes up 16 points. All right, 4-year terms. Constitution of the United States says 4-year terms. George Washington creates or establishes this tradition of not running for a third term. And up until FDR, everybody else said, you know what, 2 is good enough for Washington, it's good enough for me. But in 1951, the 22nd Amendment changed it to a maximum of 2 terms or 10 years total. Meaning, if something should happen to the President of the United States and the Vice President takes over, like we saw with Harry S. Truman, he can serve a maximum of 2 years and then get elected to 2 terms, so a total of 10 years. FDR, of course, was the longest in office at 12 years. If he had lived his entire term, he would have been President of the United States for 16 years. One president, your entire lives. Already, you're on your 3rd. Of course, Grover Cleveland's the only one to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. He's the 22nd, 24th President of the United States. When the president is sworn in, anybody can do it, but most often it is the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. There are those rare instances where you see federal judges, like on Air Force One following Kennedy's assassination, or when Harry S. Truman gets sworn in. There are those rare occasions. Calvin Coolidge, who was an interesting fella, cool cow, academic and a scholar, loved to fish. Wouldn't bait the hook or take the fish off the hook himself. Just like fishing with a 5-year-old. Would you like to be Secret Service for that detail? Yeah. Sworn in by his father, Justice of the Peace. Of course, Washington added the "So help me God." Questions?